Paddington in Peru is not directed by Paul King this time around, the helmer of the first two films and who recently made Wonka. This time it's directed by Dougal Wilson. And here Paddington returns to Peru to visit his beloved Aunt Lucy, who now resides at the home for retired bears. With the Brown family in tow, a thrilling adventure ensues when a mystery plunges them into an unexpected journey. But before we get into the rest of the video, I want to give a special thank you to the sponsor, BetterHelp. We all go through personal stresses in life, and some of us have dealt with very severe anxiety. I certainly have in the past, and that's why it's been wonderful to be able to turn to BetterHelp. BetterHelp is on a mission to make starting therapy easier. BetterHelp is a platform where therapists and their clients can communicate effectively and get the most out of therapy through messaging, phone calls, and video chats. There's a journal inside the platform for personal reflection, and there's group sessions on a number of different topics available every day. Starting therapy is easy with BetterHelp. You fill out a questionnaire, and you'll match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. One of the best features of BetterHelp is that if the first therapist doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to another one when you find someone you can really connect with. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. So if you're struggling and you think you'd benefit from a therapy session, click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/Chris Stuckmann and get 10% off your first month of therapy. Please do check out that link in the description below. That's betterhelp.com/Chris Stuckmann. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring this video. The Paddington movies have had an absolutely blessed life. The first film was genuinely really great. The second film was somehow masterful. Like Paddington 2 is so good. And I know people joke about this. I know they call it like, like I see the memes where it's like Godfather is less than Paddington. Like I get it. Like it's a bit of a joke, but like also it's not. Paddington 3 has a lot to live up to. And I will say this right off the bat. Paddington in Peru is the worst of the trilogy. But it kind of has that Return of the Jedi thing going on for me, where like Return of the Jedi is my least favorite of the original Star Wars trilogy, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. In fact, it's a very good movie. And Paddington 3 is a very good movie. It just doesn't reach the cinematic heights of the first two films. And it's not just because Paul King isn't directing it. It's directed extremely well. And this is a feature directing debut. It just comes down to the fact that the story is not as interesting for Paddington the bear this time around, even though he is searching for a loved one in the wilderness. It just doesn't have as much personal stakes for him, like integrating into British society as a bear and figuring out how all of that works is so charming. And this movie is absolutely still very charming. But that's really my best way to describe why this is probably not quite as good as the first two. But again, I must say that I don't consider this like a stain on the Paddington legacy. Like this is still quite a good film and very, very enjoyable, especially for families. When my kids are a little bit older, I'm going to start sharing the Paddington movies with them, and I really cannot wait for that moment because all three of them I could totally see them loving. All that being said, this movie does have Olivia Colman, and she is wonderful here. She is absolutely remarkable. She plays a nun who is sketchy, to say the least. She gets so many great laughs. She has this constant frozen smile after she says everything that was just so much fun to watch. And I also really liked what they did with Hugh Bonneville's character, Henry Brown. He, being a risk assessment agent and very scared of everything, is forced in the jungle to go through all of these various tests that are obviously very difficult for him, and I love the direction they took with his character eventually. Antonio Banderas is also a very handsome ship captain. The movie loves to remind us of how handsome he is, and he's quite good in the movie too. What this movie gets so right, that the first two obviously did as well, is really just making you feel warm and loved and invited, and it feels just like a gigantic hug. All of these movies feel that way. The emotional center of the movie is that Paddington is trying to find Aunt Lucy, who's been lost and has no idea where she went. And so it can poke and prod a little bit at Paddington's youth. You care so much about him reuniting with her and making sure that she's safe, because who wants this bear to be sad? Look at him, nobody wants that. So even though this film doesn't reach the cinematic heights of Paddington 2, it still was a really great time at the theaters, and it does cement a very good trilogy. And there aren't a lot of great family movie trilogies. Also, be sure you stay for the credits. There's some fun stuff to see there. And what do you guys think of this movie and Paddington 1 and 2? The cinematic, perfect, masterful trilogy. Yeah, as far as trilogies go, it's like The Human Condition, Godfather, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Those are all below Paddington. Guys, when you see the movie, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. If you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.